Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Hagan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Thanks to those who are tuned in and who have been tuned in the past. Today is another guest day. Today I have Joe Apfelbaum. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Close enough?
Apfelbaum.
Yeah. He's coming to us from Brooklyn, New York. And Joe he's a LinkedIn expert. And for many of you know, when on this podcast, sometimes it's just me sharing my insights and the things I uncover from time to time. And this is one of those times where I get great people, great experts in particular areas. And much of us do a lot of networking on LinkedIn. And so when I learned of Joe, I reached out to him and asked if he would share some of his insights and talents with us. So welcome, Joe.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you give us some background on, I guess, how you got into LinkedIn? I don't want to say how you became an expert because the word expert is pretty loose. Go ahead.
There's a famous saying, if you build it, they will come. Ever heard of that, Frank? If you
yeah.
build it, they will come. But I built websites for thousands of people, and unfortunately, many of them reported back to me that nobody's coming to their website. So I had to figure out a way to actually make them come, to actually make people start arriving to the website and start getting traffic. And I discovered something called search engine optimization. And what I found was that if I just optimized some websites, traffic would come because people are searching on Google. And then when social media became popular, I found that there was another avenue. People were congregating on social media, but LinkedIn wasn't this thing that I used for getting traffic. It was more of like, it was a website. 10 years ago when I started teaching it, there were 65 million people on it. You couldn't compare it to the other more popular social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, but it was there. It was a professional website for you to have your stuff there. And, connect with the people that you're doing business with. That's what it was all about. Just connect to stay top of mind and stay with the people connected. And what I quickly found was over the past several years, since Microsoft paid $26.2 billion to purchase LinkedIn, they changed it to a content marketing platform. So the benefits that I would have from getting clients on Google, by creating blogs and things like that, with LinkedIn, you have an actual built-in audience I discovered several years ago where you already have your trusted contacts there. And if you can create content there, you're going to get in front of your trusted content. Now, what I found was when I started working with bigger businesses, it was very hard to get bigger businesses through search engine optimization. Instead, I would have to use something called networking. Frank, I'm sure you're familiar with networking.
Yeah.
And that's the key to get big business referrals, right? Because they already trust you. No one's going to spend $10, $15, $20, $100,000 because they did a search on Google. They're going to go to their trusted people in their network, and that's how they're going to get that type of business. As a matter of fact, my biggest client to date came from me buying breakfast for the Presidents of Entrepreneurs Organization and having a conversation with him, helping him out with something that he really needed. And then he referred somebody, and I got in the door with the biggest client I've ever had that we're spending $45,000 per month in just our retainer fee, which for me at that point, I was getting clients at $1,000, $2,000 a month. I never even imagined that somebody could spend $45,000 a month. But those are the types of clients I've been able to get by networking, just offline networking. Now, what I found is the combination of content marketing and offline networking happens on LinkedIn, believe it or not. It's like this weird mesh of getting traffic, doing digital marketing, and actual networking. So I had to learn how to do offline networking for a long time, but I never really realized the power of virtual networking till just about 2 years ago or so, when I said, you know what, why don't I apply the stuff that I learned over the past several years to offline networking, to online networking, and turn it into this business networking environment. And what I found is that it's not for everybody. It's not because some people are just not digital savvy and they just don't want to deal with, the fakeness of social media that they see. But today, in today's day and age, where everyone has to be virtual, now you have no choice. I was an early adopter, but now it's mainstream to be networking online. So if you're not using LinkedIn, the only professional social network to network right now virtually, you have missed the boat. So I learned how to network because not everybody knows how to network. And then I also learned technology, how to use technology. And then I applied both of them together. And now I have this unique skill set that allows me to network virtually. And I closed $750,000 in new business last year. And this year, even though we have a pandemic, I'm poised to close another $2 million in business. Maybe not this month because everybody's mourning losses and everything's closed. But May, June, July, and August and Q4, I plan on making more money then than I've ever made in my career. Why? Because I know how to leverage this unique way of doing business.
Gotcha. Now, I've always said that networking online is very similar to what you do in the real world. In other words, if you wouldn't do it in the real world, don't do it online. Fair statement? You agree with?
It is a fair statement, but not everybody views it that way, and I'll tell you why. Some people say, video chat, come on, video chat? Nah, I'm not going to do video chat. I want to meet people in the flesh. I want to shake a hand. I don't trust someone that I meet through video chat.
Right.
But that was yesterday. That was 3 weeks ago. That was 4 months ago. Now everybody's on Zoom. Go look at their stock. Now everybody's on Google Hangouts. Everybody's using video. It became normal now. So if somebody's not doing it, they're the ones that are not normal. They're the ones that are still using fax machines.
Right. I'm not sure what a fax machine is anymore. Well, what are some thoughts and ideas for people with respect to LinkedIn? And just, I'm not asking you to give away the farm, but just,
I love giving away the farm, Frank. The
all
farm
right.
is there for it to be given away. So I will be giving everybody away the farm. So get your pens, get your pencils, get your paper, start writing things down, because I want everyone to take action. Now, I know that people that pay attention. And so when you invest in yourself and you get the coaching that you need and you buy the courses, that's when you actually take action. But either way, maybe you're motivated, maybe you're hungry, maybe you're intelligent, maybe you'll take action. And if anybody listening to this can actually get some benefit from what I'm about to share, please take it, apply it, and be successful. So step number one, before you do any objective, before you do any tactic, whether it's SEO, whether it's email marketing, and certainly if it's LinkedIn, you need to first set a strategy. What is your plan? What do you want to accomplish? Now, most people that go out there, they sign up for a LinkedIn account and they start adding connections. And then they get to 1,000 connections and they keep hoarding. I call it hoarding connections, adding more and adding. What are you doing with your connections? Why are you hoarding toilet paper? Why are you hoarding connections? What are you doing?
Right.
So I ask people then, they're like, I don't know, isn't it good to have connections? I'm like, no, it's not good to collect business cards. It's good to do something with it. So what do you want to do? They're like, I don't even know where to even begin. Strategy sounds complicated. And I was
Right.
like, I know the word strategy does sound complicated, but it's not. Number one is, what is your goal? When I talk about goals, I talk about your business goal. I talk about your marketing goal. I talk about your LinkedIn goal. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve with LinkedIn? And you might say, I want more clients, but more clients is not a goal. It's a hope. It's a dream. You got to be very specific. I want to generate $2 million in new business in 2020, specifically from LinkedIn. I want to do 20 calls a week. That's 1,000 calls a year. I want to be able to get 1,000 views on each post that I post on LinkedIn, and I want to do that 3 to 10 times a day. I have very specific goals, and most people don't have written goals. So the first part of setting a strategy is knowing where the end is, what done looks like, what is the goal. Step number 2 is figuring out who you're targeting, because there are 650 million people on LinkedIn. You can only have 30,000 connections. And when I say 30,000, that's a crazy number. The average CEO only has 1,000 connections on LinkedIn. So if you only had the ability to have 1,000 connections, who would those people be? Not every person, a LinkedIn connection is created equal. Every human is created equal, but not every person on LinkedIn is created equal, because whoever's in the position to refer business to you might not be in the position to refer business to me. And LinkedIn is about making sure you're in the right room, which means having the right connections and knowing who you're targeting, both clients and potential referral partners. That's the second thing. And then the third part of your strategy needs to be, what are you going to say? What's your messaging? Most people have no idea how to create a unique selling proposition, have no idea how to determine what the emotional needs of their clients and prospects are, of their referral partners. Why would somebody want to refer business to you? Most people don't have that messaging in order. So once you have that, that's your strategy, getting clear on what your goal is, your objective on your business level, your marketing level, your LinkedIn level, then figuring out who you're targeting, not just the person, but also the referral partner, the geographic, demographic, psychographic, getting really clear on who the people are that you want in your network, and then making sure that you're actually connected to those people. I'll tell you a funny story. I was speaking to an insurance guy. He does business insurance. And I said, who's your ideal? He was, I was training him on LinkedIn. He was taking one of our courses called the LinkedIn Foundations course. And he came to one of our coaching sessions. And I said, who is in the position to refer business to you? So he's like, well, other CPAs. And I said, who is in a position to actually do business with you? He said, CFOs of mid-market companies.
Right.
So I'm going to say, I said, how many connections? He said 2,000 connections. Are you ready for this one, Frank?
Yep.
He said 2,000 connections. I said, how many CFOs are you connected to? He's like, I never checked. How do I check that? I showed him how to check it. And then he said 4.
Oh,
and I was
geez.
like, 4 CFOs. I said, how many CPAs are you connected to? He said 20. I said, out of 2,000 connections. He's like, but CPAs don't use LinkedIn. That just came out of him naturally. He just spit that out. And I was like, I'm connected to 400 CPAs. 400. And I know which ones are actively using LinkedIn because many of them are my clients. I was like, are you telling me that CPAs don't use LinkedIn? He's like, no, I don't know where that came from. I said, it's called a self-limiting belief. And we all have it. We all have beliefs that limit us, and we say things, just shoot things out of our mouth that are beliefs, opinions, convictions, whatever they are, and then we end up not taking action as a result. So the key to having the right strategy is making sure that A, you know what your goal is, B, you know who you're connected to and who your target market is, who your target partner is, and the last thing is, what are you going to say to them? Once you have that in place, then you can start creating assets. And here's another thing that I want everyone to know, is if you don't have your assets in place, you're not going to be consistent. And consistency is the key. If you want to be successful on LinkedIn, you have to be consistent. And the crazy thing is, the people that don't get the benefit are the people that are not consistent. They're not showing up every week. So when I ask somebody, did networking work? And they're like, yeah, when I show up, it works, but I don't have time to show up. I was like, you don't have time. Everybody has time. Everyone has the same. That's the one common denominator that we have with Warren Buffett, is that we both have the same 24 hours in the day. The question is how you use that time. So Warren Buffett uses his time to wait for the stock market to be where it is today, and then he goes in on Boeing. And then he goes in on the stocks that mattered to him because he had the patience, he had the time because he made the time. You have to make the time. So people often ask me, Joe, how much time should I spend on LinkedIn? I said, spend 15 minutes a day. Someone's like, how can I post content in 15 minutes a day? If your content was prepared in advance, it's like meal prep. You want to lose weight? Do meal prep.
Yep.
If you're going to sit there and not be sure what to eat, it's not going to work. So the same thing with LinkedIn. You got to get your articles ready. You got to get your stories ready. You got to get the questions that people ask you ready. You got to get all the answers, all your videos, your images, get all the stuff together, put it into an asset library, put it into a content calendar. If you don't have your stories, you won't be able to update your profile. You won't know what to write on your profile. If you don't understand your messaging or who you're targeting, how are you going to update your profile? People say, oh, update your profile, and they start teaching you how to do your headline, your about us, your experience, your identity. You can't do any of that stuff without a strategy, and you can't do any of that stuff without your assets. So before you start doing, you got to plan and you got to organize. Once you plan and organize and you actually have a calendar, you know what you're going to do, you export your connections, you have a dashboard. We teach people how to recognize, strategize, and prioritize their contacts so that they can network effectively. Most people are not doing this. And then once you have your assets in place, it'll take a lot of the fear away and you'll actually take action consistently. And then the third step, so the first step is strategy. The second step is assets. The first step is branding yourself. The second step is building your assets. And the third step I call is booming. Have you ever heard me say boom on LinkedIn, Frank?
No, I haven't.
So anybody that watches my stuff on LinkedIn, I'm always saying boom, boom, boom. And people are like, what is boom? Boom is energy. Boom is taking action. So what I tell people is you need to take action, because if you just talk all day and plan all day, nothing's going to happen, especially if you have the perfectionist syndrome that most people have, where they're not sure what to post. The key is to be taking action. So there are 3 major actions I want everyone listening to this to take on a daily basis, even if you only have 15 minutes a day. Action number 1 is make sure that you are posting every single day. What should you post? There are 6 different types of posts that you can post on LinkedIn. There are articles that you can post. There are videos, images, animated GIFs, documents. There's so many different things that you can share, because posting helps you with visibility. Visibility is really important, because what's the saying? Out of sight,
Out of mind.
Of course. I say if you're out of sight, you're out of your mind. If you're out of sight, you got to stay in front of people, because even if somebody knows what you do, if they don't remember you at the right time, they're not going to refer you. So
Right.
If you're a life insurance agent, you sell life insurance, or you're a real estate agent and you're leasing houses, or you're selling brownstones in Brooklyn, well, your neighbor might know that you do that, but your neighbor forgot you existed because you haven't been updating on a daily basis on LinkedIn. And guess what? Your post dies after 24 hours, and no one does a funeral for it. So you think you posted
Right.
last week and it worked? No, it's dead. It
Yeah.
dies after 24 hours. So you got to post every day. You got to show up every day. It's a networking event that happens every day, and you got to show up every day. The second thing you need to do is to build credibility, to build trust, is you have to be real. You have to engage. And engaging is not just sitting there lurking on the feed and hoping that something will touch you. That's reactive marketing. You want proactive marketing, which is actually liking, actually commenting, actually mentioning people, actually endorsing, recommending, being part of the community. And people don't do this enough. They don't do this. They don't build a community, so they don't have the trust. If you have a connection on LinkedIn that never liked or commented on anything that you posted, chances are you don't know who that person is. And if you do, you don't trust them. When you
Right.
like and comment on people's stuff, you build trust. So that's the second thing. And the third thing you want to do is you want to reach out. Outreach. Slide into the DM. I call this Operation DM. And there's a very specific process to DMing. A very specific process. If you're just going to be selling, then you're going to be smelling. You're not going to work. It's not going to work. You can't sell on LinkedIn. Have you ever been to a networking event and somebody tried to sell you? How did you feel?
Not good.
Not good. Icky, yucky, right? It's like, ew, get away from me. This is networking. This is not selling. Same thing with LinkedIn. You don't want to be selling, because as a matter of fact, most people you're going to be networking with are not ready to buy anyway now.
Right.
Instead, they're ready to refer business to you, and that's what you want. You want the referral. So in order for you to get more referrals, you need to be greeting, feeding, and meeting. Those are the 3 steps to take. And again, we teach this. We give you the templates, the scripts. We give you all the things that you need, the support that you need. But if you can figure out how to do it, greeting, feeding, and meeting is really the key. So what's an example of a greeting? Happy birthday. What's an example of a greeting? Hey, coronavirus hit us really, really strong, but we're still okay. How are you doing? Right? That's
Right.
a greeting. Feeding is showing appreciation and adding value through introductions and information and education. And those are the things that you feed people. People want appreciation. That's what people want. And then, of course, if you build rapport with someone, you're having a conversation, then you can set up a meeting, and potentially, if someone's qualified, you can sell them. But if someone's not qualified and you're not even building rapport with them and you're not having a conversation with them through greeting, feeding, and meeting, it's not going to work. So in those 3 simple activities, if you do those activities, 5 minutes posting, 5 minutes engaging, and 5 minutes of messaging, you're going to see an exponential return on investment from LinkedIn.
Great. I mean, that's all great information. How can people help you? What would be, people are listening, what could they do for you?
So if they follow me on LinkedIn, if they go to joelinkedin.com, okay, I bought a domain name. I forwarded it to my LinkedIn URL because my last name's hard to pronounce and hard to spell. So Joe, J-O-E, LinkedIn.com. You go there through a computer and you read my About section. You will notice several call to actions that I put there in my About section. I have a webinar replay that you could watch. It's an hour-long webinar where I teach you different things about how do you leverage LinkedIn completely free. I have a way for you to set up a call with me. I have a way for you to follow me and read my articles and my posts. and give a like, give a comment, engage, be part of my community. If you're an engaged LinkedIn user, if you're committed to networking, if you want to grow, if you're hungry, if you're intelligent, and if you take networking seriously, I want to meet you. I want to have a conversation with you, and I want to refer a business to you. So network with me. Let's build a relationship, and make sure that you mention that you heard me on Frank's podcast.
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much. Joe, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here, and I hope I was able to add value to your audience.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.